Hi, welcome back for another episode of Anyone Can Paint. Glad you could join us again this week. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. We were just starting to work on our cabin, so we're going to go up and finish that off. We're going to use this small flat bristle brush with a little bit of blue and a little bit of brown. And right in there. And I'm going to clean that, and then I'm going to go back to blue with some brown in it, kind of back to our other part of the cabin. And that's fine. And we'll get the roof of that. I'm going to darken that up just a little bit more. It's a little bright. A little bit more blue to it. That's better. And we're also going to put, there's a bit of a porch that hangs out here. I'm just going through and just kind of touching the canvas. And then there's a support pole that comes down. Just like that. We'll clean out the brush. We're going to let that paint dry before we go in and do any more to it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our medium flat bristle brush, and we're going to start working in some of the highlights that go back here in the back part. So this is going to be a combination of some yellow with just a little bit of green to it. And we're just going to start working that in like that, go right up against the building. And skip around so some of the dark shows through a little bit. Bring it back like this. Now this tree is in front of that, so you don't want to cut across that. We're just going to kind of work this up a little bit. We just want to get this back part in so we can start blocking in some of the rocks. I think I'm going to add a little bit of this color to it just to kind of maybe a little bit of blue, just to kind of break all that yellow up. Then I need to go back in and bring some yellow back in. Just need to get a little bit more dark in there. Just going to clean my brush real quick. Go back into that yellow-green color, and then back up to the canvas. We're going to let that dry. Maybe we'll touch it up a little bit. We're going to stay with this brush, and we're going to start going through and blocking in our rocks. This is going to be some blue and some brown. Again, to whatever degree of darkness you want. If you want your rocks darker, a little bit more blue to them. Browner, just leave some brown or some blue out and just add a little bit more brown to it. But remember to change some shapes. Get some nice large ones, some small ones. Again, we're just blocking these in. These are going to be done with highlights a little bit later. Right up to about there, because remember, this tree is in front of that. So you don't want to go behind that so much. Or cut into that. Up in here, these rocks are going to be a little bit larger. In fact, I'm going to make some of them a little bit larger here just to break it up. This is really what's going to settle in and hold our waterfall together. Got some larger rocks in here. I add a little bit of blue to that just to kind of change up the color a little bit. Our waterfall is going to be in that area right in there, if you recall. Again, just kind of put some larger ones, some smaller ones. These are going to get settled down back in the grass. again, just block these in, and we'll separate these all out with highlights like we always do. You can just kind of vary your sizes. You can do some smaller ones and some larger ones. Some interesting shapes. And I'm just still going back and grabbing some blue and some brown in various degrees of shade. Sometimes it's a little brownish, sometimes it's a little darker, which kind of looks like black. That's a big one. Just grabbing more paint and I'll be right back up. Again, some of these are going to appear to be underwater, so you can just kind of, if you'd like to do that, just kind of give some general shapes to it. We're going to put some of the water lines over top of that, which pushes those down. And some of these you can leave up on top of the water if you'd like to also. Let's go ahead and clean up the brush. Now we're going to use our large fan brush. And we're going to start putting in some of the grasses and things up in this area and back over in that side too. This is going to be some yellow and a little bit of green. And we're just going to go right in and we're just going to push up our brush, the bristles up to get those nice little edges on there. This goes right up underneath the pine tree, and these can go all the way around your rocks. But again, like always, leave some of that dark showing through there. By going up around the pine trees, you'll notice that this really kind of settles those down a little bit. Just going through and just putting a little bit of pressure so the bristles bend just a little bit. And just keep working this down. Make sure you put some between some of the rocks once in a while. Again, just a little bit of pressure, just enough to get the bristles to bend. And then leave some darks. Really covers up a lot of area really quick. And again, it's nice because you don't have to cover up everything because you need some of the darks to show through there, so you can really whip this out pretty quick. There, just like that. I'm going to reload and I'm going to go to the opposite side of the river. And we're going to start working over here. And the same thing, just kind of push up your bristles a little bit. Go right underneath some of those rocks. I'm just going to reload real quick. right over top of some of the edges of those rocks, and those settle those right down. Hopefully you can see real well how the importance of leaving that dark showing through in your grasses. Get that nice depth that's inside there. Wild here. Just make sure you're following your angles. Go right up against those rocks. It really looks good when you can get right up against those rocks because you get that nice contrast again between lights and darks. There's a nice one there. You see nice little weeds right there sticking up. And we're going to work this right down right to the edge, right there. We can come back and kind of dress some of this up after we've kind of highlighted some of the rocks. Let's go ahead and clean that out. I think what we'll do next is go back up and work into our cabin. And it looks to be all dry by now. We're going to have our light coming in from the right hand side as we spoke earlier, and we're going to go through and put in some effects that look kind of like wood. And this is going to be done with some white and a little bit of brown. You want to get the bulk of the paint out of your brush so you have a little bit of it. It's going to be very close to what dry brushing is. And because the angle of our roof is like this, the strokes are going to come straight down, but you have to angle your brush so you can get up on that angle a little bit. So just come down and just lightly touch the canvas and pull. It's a little odd because your brush is on an angle, but you're pulling straight down. Just use a little bit of pressure. And then on this side, I'm going to get around the table a little bit. I'm going to angle it this way. See if I can do this backhanded. Come straight down. This kind of looks really old. We'll do the same thing to this shed. Give that a little bit of life. And if you offset this, this will appear like the corner of this cabin sticks out, and this is actually recessed in from the edge. I'm going to put a little bit of another touch here. Down. Yeah, just like that. All right, we're going to clean that out. Now we're going to, with that same color, put a little bit of blue. A little bit, and I got a bunch again. We just want to darken this up a little bit. We're going to get the roof that's on the of this side. And this is going to be a little bit in shadow. That's why we kind of put a little bit of blue into it. If you want to go through, just make some short strokes. And who knows what kind of shape this little thing is in. Some of the underpainting can show through. And we'll do the same with the roof that's on the shed. Just like that. And we'll clean out the brush. Now what we're going to do is get the liner brush, and we're going to put in the windows. And we're going to put a little bit of highlight on the edges of the cabin. So we're going to use a really dark color, and that if you still have some of that blue-brown combination, this is going to again take a little bit of water. You want to roll your bristles in it, and you pull it out to get a nice little edge. We'll go right up here. We'll drop in some windows. Put one here. And we should just go ahead and we'll put one up in the top. I think it was one up there. That's a little narrower. Just kind of block that one. Then we can also, I'm just going to grab some paint, I'll be right back. We put like a little door to this little shed. Like that. And we're going to clean our brush. And we're going to go back and hit some highlights on that. This is going to be done with some white and a little bit of orange. I grab too much orange and I grab too much white. There we go. And we want to get this a little wet so it makes it easy to work with. And then we're going to hit all the angles that would catch some light. Because remember, our light's coming in from our right. We've got, you can clearly see this side of the cabin is much brighter than the other. So we're going to put a little bit of highlight on that eave. We'll put a little bit on the front eave. On the side of the cabin. This back corner would catch a little bit. And some of this right there. And we definitely want to get the top of the porch and the front of that pole. You could also go, if you wanted to, just kind of real lightly go through here. Brighten some of this up. And this looks like old weathered wood, obviously, which is exactly what you want. Yeah, just like that. Maybe we should get a little bit across the very top because the roof would catch a little bit of that. And then while we're there, we need to put a little bit of a shadow underneath the front overhang. So we're just going to put some blue in with that same color. And we're going to go right up underneath. Let's see if this is the right color. That's all right. Get right underneath that eave right there. And that should be done with the cabin. I think while we're back there, I'm going to grab the small flat bristle brush, and I'm going to make this a little bit brighter since we brightened that cabin up. Again, I'm going to grab some yellow with just a little bit of green to it, and go through and brighten this up in here. And making sure you don't cover up all of that underpainting. Skip around. I'm going to hit it just one more time with some straight yellow. There, I did it. And then back behind the shed, obviously, is getting some shadows back there, so just get this one side. Now we need to go through and start highlighting some of the rocks, which I know you've all been waiting for. It's going to be white with a little bit of orange. Just a tiny bit of blue I got just to kind of calm it down at this point. And we're going to use this small flat bristle brush to get some of the larger and the smaller ones. The very, very smaller rocks, we're going to use the liner brush for that. So I'm just going to go through here. Get some of the paint off my brush. And you just want to work this back. I'm really just using the corner of the brush just to bring some of that back. And then this one is like that. Grab a little bit more paint, be right back. This one I'm going to bring back like this. just work this back. And make that edge a little bit more of a hard edge there, because that cuts in front of that one. There we go. And just work this rock back. And I'm just going to reload. And we'll get this one. In fact, I'm going to come across like this. And we'll put another one here. See, I just chopped that in front because I was kind of concerned that this rock would look similar to that one because they're kind of long and narrow. So I just made that into two. And just work it back. Just really light touches. I'm going to reload. In fact, I got to make a new little pile here. Highlight. I'm going to get some of the bulk of that off. I'll be right back. There we go. And you just softly bring that back. But remember to leave some of that dark going through there. I'm going to make two little rocks here. Start working that back. Nice shot there. Remember, you want to keep all of these little darks going through there. That's what gives you that little sense of some texture. Right there, you got some dark showing through there, some medium tones, and yet there's still some bright edges on there, which breaks all that up. And that's all done by, as you make your first stroke on there with your highlight, you start mopping this back and not really doing a certain stroke, but I'm just using the corner of the brush and just kind of mopping this back just to get rid of that inside of that stroke there. And just work it back. It's really light pressure so you can get these little darks showing through here and there. But that's just the underpainting sticking through there with just very, very little pressure on the brush that has that highlight color on it. So that's exactly what you want to do right there. Good shot, Gary. We got a little one here, and we got a little guy just sticking on here. We'll get a little bit of him. All right, we're going to go on the opposite side of the river. I'm going to save these rocks. Well, I can get this one, but some of these are getting so small that I'm going to have to use the liner brush to really get them. Got a little wild hair there. Let's get rid of him. Get rid of them. You're ready to go. Maybe I can finish it up with this. Again, these I'm not doing as much detail to, obviously, as what we just did. These are just little suggestions because these are so far away. Remember that things that are far away get smaller and they have a lot less detail to them. You just want to go through and suggest. And what happens is that they can clearly see these are rocks, and it just works its way around, and it just falls into place that those are rocks. There. That finishes up that side. And this side, remember that the light's coming this way, so this is going to get highlighted on the right-hand side of all these also. Again, these small ones, just put enough on there where they stand out on their own. Just to suggest. All right, yeah, we're done good. We're just going to kind of keep working our way down. Get him a little bit, just in case he doesn't get covered up. I'll put one on here. Remember, your first stroke is your highlight. Work that back. I'm going to reload again. I have a little buddy that sticks out here. Well, it's about time we've got to knock off for this week. We just had a little bit more to go. So when we come back next week, we're going to finish off these rocks. Then we'll start working in the water. We'll start establishing some of the movement with the waterfall. We've got a couple trees to put in here, a stump with a tree that's fallen over. And I think we're going to have a whip. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you watching. Make sure you check out our website. A lot of new information on it, really exciting information. I think you're going to be pretty happy. So make sure you tune in next week for our last episode on this, and we'll finish this up. Grab some brushes and some paints and try this. You're going to fall in love with painting, I promise. Anyone can paint. We'll see you next week.